This is one, and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here. This is one of the best families I know, and I've known this family now, for
Over
20 years?
way over 20 years, yeah.
20 years, and to see your,
Who stays silent when the world is asking questions? And why does that silence sometimes speak louder than any answer? Something shifted between Bill Gaither and Lynda Randle, and longtime fans felt it. The smiles, the harmony, they shared stage moments. They began to fade. People noticed. And yet, no one said a word. Bill Gaither finally breaks silence about Lynda Randle. What he revealed has left many stunned and others quietly moved. The story is deeper than it seems, and the truth has finally come to light. Keep watching to find out what really happened. From the very beginning, there was something truly special between Bill Gaither and Lynda Randle. Their friendship did not grow overnight. It was shaped over time through shared songs, long tours, and moments both on and off stage. When they stood beside each other in front of a crowd, something quiet but powerful happened. Their voices blended in a way that felt effortless, as if they were meant to sing together. But it was not just about the music. What the fans truly witnessed was an alignment of two souls whose purpose was greater than their individual talent. This depth of connection became the cornerstone of their appeal, something rarely achieved in the demanding world of gospel music. Their professional commitment was obvious, yet the personal bond was what created the magnetic pull for audiences worldwide. Every note they shared seemed to carry the weight of their history, a silent affirmation of years spent supporting each other through every challenge the road presented. Theirs was a kind of magic that cannot be manufactured. It was born of genuine affection and a shared faith that anchored their every performance. Think back to those early concerts, the way Bill Gaither would instinctively lean in when Lynda Randle hit a particularly soulful phrase, the way her eyes would find his across the stage, a silent exchange that communicated approval, trust, and deep mutual respect. These were the fleeting, unscripted moments that captivated their followers. People traveled hundreds of miles, not just for the songs, but for the feeling of being near that authentic connection. They felt included in a family that seemed unbreakable. As the Gaither homecoming movement exploded, this particular duo, Bill and Lynda, became the emotional heart of the entire collective. Their story was woven into the very fabric of the ministry. They were the benchmark for harmony, not just vocally, but emotionally. This level of public closeness, however, often casts long shadows. When a bond is so visible, any minute deviation, any small crack in the perfect facade, is immediately magnified by those watching. And in the years that followed, the subtle signs began to emerge. Small details that only the most dedicated fans picked up on. Perhaps it was the way their duets became slightly less frequent. Maybe it was the sudden absence of her signature laugh during the stage banter. The change was like a slight dip in the temperature, noticed only by those paying close attention to the overall warmth of the room. The silence surrounding these minor shifts was, in itself, a growing phenomenon. Fans whispered online and discussed it in the church lobbies, always with a question mark hanging over their words. What changed? Is everything okay? The truth is, even the strongest foundations can face internal pressures invisible to the outside world. Bill Gaither and Lynda Randle's partnership was monumental. But it was also human. The relentless demands of touring, the personal sacrifices required, and the simple passage of time inevitably introduce variables that test the limits of any relationship. Yet, the public expectation was that their bond was somehow immune to life's ordinary complications. When the perfection wavered, the speculation began, and the lack of explanation only amplified the volume of the unanswered questions. For a long time, the group chose not to speak, maintaining a dignified silence that, paradoxically, fueled the very rumors they hoped to avoid. This period of unspoken transition built an incredible tension. Fans cherished the memories of the perfect harmony, but they began to fear the reality of the present. They waited for an answer, a statement, anything to break the mysterious quiet that had fallen over a connection they once thought would last forever. The anticipation for a final word, an authoritative explanation, reached a fever pitch. It was a silent story, told in missed appearances and quiet omissions, leading many to jump to conclusions that were dramatic and, ultimately, inaccurate. The actual truth, as is often the case, turned out to be far more nuanced than any rumor, resting on the quiet realities of life lived in the spotlight. The reveal was a long time coming, and its impact was undeniable. Behind the harmonies was something much deeper. What people were really hearing was the sound of two people who respected each other, trusted each other, and shared something close to family. As the years went by, audiences began to notice more than just the songs. They saw the way Bill and Lynda looked at each other when they sang. It was the kind of look that only comes from years of friendship. Some smiles said more than words ever could. There were inside jokes, gentle laughs, and quiet understanding. Their time together on stage felt warm and real, like watching two old friends who were always glad to be in each other's company. People felt that warmth. They felt included in something meaningful, something that brought comfort and joy. Lynda was never just another voice in the group. She brought her full heart into every performance, with her rich, soulful singing and bright spirit. She gave every concert a kind of energy that could lift even the heaviest hearts. Audiences loved her not only for her talent, but for the way she carried herself with joy, kindness, and grace. Bill often spoke of her as a light in their family, someone whose presence made everything better. And Lynda, in return, never hesitated to thank Bill for the impact he had on her life. She called him a major part of her journey, both personally and professionally. That kind of mutual respect stood out. It made their connection feel rare and true. To their fans, this bond became something to treasure. It was easy to see how strong it was, and no one expected it to change. In a fast-moving world where relationships often fall apart under pressure, Bill and Lynda's friendship felt steady. It gave people something familiar to hold on to. Every Gaither concert became more than just a music event. It felt like a family reunion. The faces people had grown to love were still there. The songs felt like old friends, and through it all, the friendship between Bill and Lynda was part of the comfort the Gaither family brought into people's lives. So when people looked back on their shared journey, they did not just remember the music. They remembered how it felt to see two people treat each other with kindness and loyalty year after year. Their story showed that not all deep connections need big moments or flashy words. Sometimes the strongest ties are built in quiet ways through patience, support, and standing by someone when they need it most. Theirs was that kind of friendship. When they stood together on stage, their voices did more than make music. They painted a picture of togetherness. It was not about being perfect. It was about being present. It was about sharing joy, carrying burdens, and moving forward side by side. Bill and Lynda showed the world that a real family is not always made through blood. Sometimes it is built through love, shared moments, and a quiet promise to never walk away. But after many years of joyful performances and quiet togetherness, something started to feel different. Slowly, fans began to notice that Lynda Randle was no longer appearing at every Gaither event. Her absence was not explained right away, and this led to whispers and gentle questions. People who had followed their friendship for so long began to wonder what had changed. Instead of ignoring those questions or allowing rumors to grow, Bill Gaither chose a different path. He decided to speak from the heart. His decision was not intended to create headlines or draw attention. Instead, he wanted to honor the truth quietly and respectfully. In today's world, it can be surprising when someone chooses to stay silent during personal struggles. Many public figures often share every detail of their lives, even the painful ones. But Bill and Lynda handled things differently. They chose privacy not because they had something to hide, but because they believed some things are too personal to be shared with the world. They demonstrated that genuine care and loyalty often occur behind the scenes, far from the cameras or flashing lights. Supporting each other does not always mean making big announcements. Sometimes it means being there quietly, offering love without needing to prove anything. Bill Gaither finally breaks silence about Lynda Randle. Bill's words, when he finally spoke, revealed the kind of friendship that runs deep. He explained that Lynda had been going through personal challenges and needed time away. There was no drama behind her absence, only real-life difficulties that called for space and healing. He wanted people to understand that being apart for a while did not mean the bond had weakened. It meant there was respect for the journey each person had to take. Sometimes in life, the greatest sign of love is allowing someone to step back and take care of themselves without asking them to explain. As Bill shared these feelings, it became clear just how deeply he cared for Lynda. His words were gentle but full of meaning. He demonstrated that true love and loyalty are not always expressed loudly. They are often demonstrated through patience, kindness, and the decision to remain supportive, even when things are difficult. Lynda's connection to the Gaither family had never been broken. It had simply gone quiet, just for a while, to give space for healing. Their friendship was never just about the music. It was about so much more. It was built on a strong foundation of trust and years of shared memories. The way they treated each other during difficult times only proved how deep that bond truly was. Their harmony on stage had always been beautiful, but the real beauty was in how they supported each other when no one was watching. That quiet strength became a powerful reminder of what true friendship looks like. Examining the friendship between Bill Gaither and Lynda Randle in a new light reveals something truly meaningful. Real friendships are not measured by how often two people are seen together or how much attention they receive. What truly matters is how strong the connection remains during both the easy and the challenging moments. Some of those struggles are visible, while others stay hidden. But through it all, a strong bond stays steady. That is exactly what happened between Bill and Lynda. Their friendship did not fade just because they were not on stage side by side. Instead, it quietly held firm behind the scenes. When Bill finally spoke about Lynda's absence, it was not to make news or stir emotions. His words came from a place of care. He wanted people to understand that this friendship had never been about fame. It was about standing together, especially when things got hard. His honesty gave everyone a chance to look past the music and see the people behind it. He reminded fans that true support often happens in quiet ways. It is not always loud or dramatic, but it remains powerful nonetheless. For those who had followed Bill and Lynda's journey over the years, his openness brought a sense of peace. Many had wondered why she had not been appearing as often. Now they could see that this time apart had nothing to do with a falling out. It was simply life happening with its ups and downs and the need for healing. That understanding helped calm the worries of longtime fans. It allowed them to let go of doubt and feel comforted by the truth. After Bill spoke, fans quickly responded with kindness and warmth. Social media is filled with messages of love and encouragement. People were not just saying they missed Lynda's voice, they were showing respect for her strength and her quiet way of dealing with difficult times. Many people saw her absence not as a weakness, but as a powerful act of self-care, and they appreciated the way both she and Bill handled it with grace and understanding. Memories of their past performances began to feel even more special. Fans began to reflect on all the times they had watched Bill and Lynda together, singing side by side, sharing smiles, and lifting hearts. Those moments were filled with music, yes, but also with a deep trust that had taken years to build. Looking back, those smiles and harmonies now tell a much bigger story. They showed a friendship that had lasted through both joy and hardship. Then came Lynda's own heartfelt message. She did not speak with sadness. Instead, she spoke with gratitude. She thanked Bill and the entire Gaither family for standing by her during her quiet season. She explained that sometimes a person needs to step away, not because the love is gone, but because it needs to be protected. Her words were full of appreciation, showing just how much she valued the support she had received. Even though she had not been seen as often, Lynda made it clear that her heart had never left. Her connection to the Gaither family had remained strong all along. Her love for them had not faded. If anything, it had grown even deeper during that time away. Her message matched everything Bill had said earlier. It showed that silence, when filled with love and respect, can speak louder than anything. In quiet moments, when the music fades and the lights dim, what remains is the bond between people. The connection between Bill Gaither and Lynda Randle is one of those lasting ties that never needed attention to prove its strength. Instead of controversy or confusion, their journey together has always been shaped by trust and quiet loyalty. There were no loud declarations, only quiet care that held strong even when things got tough behind the scenes. Rather than being defined by how often they stood together on stage, their friendship showed its real strength when things became still. Bill and Lynda proved that genuine relationships are not measured by appearances or applause. They are formed in the way someone checks in when no one else knows, in the moments that go unnoticed. Their story gently reminds people that love does not need to be loud to be real. Through their journey, they taught that the most meaningful bonds often grow away from the public eye. Their friendship developed slowly and deeply, built on years of shared values and mutual understanding. It was not for show. Their connection was rooted in something much more enduring: kindness, patience, and the decision to walk through life's changes without letting go of one another. What truly made their story powerful was not just the music they shared, but how they stood together when the song stopped. Bill and Lynda lived out a quiet kind of devotion that does not ask for credit, it simply stays. That calm strength became part of what fans loved about them. Their story turned into more than a partnership. It became a quiet promise kept across the years. With time, fans noticed small differences that were hard to ignore. There was no sudden change, but those who paid close attention could tell that Lynda was not as present as before. She missed a few tours. Her voice, once a regular part of new songs and live performances, was no longer heard as often. These changes were soft and slow, but they stirred quiet concern. Behind those changes was a growing sense of mystery. No one said anything directly. There were no announcements or statements, but the silence felt heavy, and people who had followed their friendship for years began to wonder if something had happened. Some thought it might have been a private choice. Others feared something more profound, such as illness or family issues. The stillness spoke louder than words. At the same time, the gospel world thrives on connection and shared stories, which made the quiet even more noticeable. Speculation began to grow in small circles. Even without hard evidence, people felt something had shifted. And yet, Bill and Lynda chose not to answer. They kept their silence not out of secrecy, but out of respect. They stayed focused on their separate journeys and avoided the noise that often surrounds public lives. The moment finally came, and it unfolded in the most gentle and heartfelt way. Bill Gaither stood before a crowd filled with longtime listeners and gospel music lovers. This wasn't just any gathering. It was a celebration of years of music, memories, and shared joy. The setting was special, but what made it unforgettable was what Bill chose to share that day. He stood quietly for a moment, took a deep breath, and then began to speak from a place deep within his heart. In that stillness, his voice carried the kind of calm that comes with experience. He did not sound angry or sad. Instead, he spoke with care, and his face reflected a mix of peace and quiet pain. He told the crowd that there was something he needed to explain, something that had been resting on his heart for quite some time. As he began, the room grew quiet. Every person in the audience seemed to feel the weight of the moment, like the air itself had paused to listen. Instead of offering a dramatic story, Bill gave something much more meaningful. He explained that Lynda's absence over the years had not come from conflict. There were no arguments or broken ties. Life, with all its challenges, had asked her to step back at times. She had faced personal struggles that were deeply private. There had been moments when she needed to focus on her health. At other times, she carried family responsibilities that required her full attention. And sometimes she simply needed space to rest and reflect. While these things happened quietly, Bill shared that the Gaither family never stopped being there for her. He spoke about how their support never needed to be loud or public. Instead, it came through silent care and the kind of love that never leaves when someone steps away. Their closeness persisted, even when fans could no longer see it. Behind the scenes, there was no drama. There was only kindness, understanding, and a decision to protect someone's journey rather than explain it to the world. One part of his message stood out deeply. Bill said that giving someone the freedom to be silent is sometimes the kindest thing a person can do. That one thought held so much truth. He reminded everyone that not all friendships require explanation. Some are simply felt, held together by quiet acts of love that ask for nothing in return. He wanted people to know that the bond he shared with Lynda had not faded. It had simply moved into a quieter place. As those words settled in, the crowd could barely hold back their emotions. Some people gently wiped away tears, moved by how gracefully Lynda's story had been shared. Others nodded with understanding, grateful for the honesty and care behind Bill's message. As the news began to spread, memories started bubbling up in the hearts of many fans. People who had followed Bill Gaither and Lynda Randle for years found themselves revisiting old moments. Videos of their duets began appearing again online. These clips showed more than just music. They captured laughter, unspoken understanding, and a connection that had grown strong over time. In one performance, Lynda's gentle voice blended beautifully with Bill's steady tone. The sound felt like a quiet prayer filled with peace and gratitude. In another clip, they simply smiled at each other. That one look said more than words ever could. It told a story of deep trust and years of shared experience. Through fresh eyes, these performances became more than just concerts. They became experiences. They were reminders of a friendship that had stood firm through challenges quietly. People began to view those moments with greater warmth and understanding. Every memory, every note felt richer. The bond between Bill and Lynda had faced hardships the public never knew about. Yet, it stayed strong through it all. Soon after Bill opened his heart, Lynda Randle shared a heartfelt message of her own. Her words came from a place of quiet strength and deep thankfulness. She didn't speak with sadness. Instead, she showed appreciation. She thanked Bill and the entire Gaither family for being there during her most difficult times. She explained that stepping away had not meant the love was gone. Sometimes, she said, healing requires distance. Stepping back is not a sign of weakness. It is a way to protect what matters most. She also spoke with warmth about Bill. She described him as more than a colleague. To her, he had always been a dear friend and a trusted companion in faith. Even though her presence on stage had become rare, she reminded her supporters that her heart never left the Gaither family. Her words carried peace, not regret. And they added another layer of beauty to a story that had already touched so many. In the end, there was no shocking news or drama to uncover. What Bill shared that day was not a secret filled with trouble. It was a gentle truth about loyalty, one that stays steady even when life becomes quiet. It was also a lesson in grace, the kind that allows people to face their struggles without fear of being judged. And it was a message about love, the quiet kind that stays close even when no one else sees it. The story of Bill and Lynda continues to be a gentle reminder. True friendship does not need constant attention. It is measured in how people care for one another when no one is watching. It grows stronger in silence through patience and respect. Their journey showed that the strongest bonds are not always the loudest. Some are built quietly, protected by understanding, and held together by love that does not fade. Some stories are not meant to shout. They whisper. And in those whispers, they leave the deepest mark. When the spotlight fades and the stage is empty, who in your life still stands beside you? Let us know in the comments below. If this story made you pause, reflect, or feel something real, give this video a thumbs up so it can reach more hearts. And if you want to hear more stories that hold meaning, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay connected.